Today we continue our look at the people who may run for governor in 2010. So far they're all Democrats, members of a party that last won the governorship when Ronald Reagan was president back in 1986. We've already heard from Attorney General Richard Blumenthal, who told me he will announce the first week in January if he is going to be running for governor. Stanford Mayor Dan Malloy was here last week to say to rather say he is running if Blumenthal is not. And here today is the Secretary of the State, Susan Bysiewicz, who ran briefly for governor in '06. And Madam Secretary, nice to see you.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you very much for the book you gave me, Ella, which you wrote in what year?
I did. I wrote this when I was in law school in the early 1980s.
Well, I just finished it. It's really a fantastic book, and they really should, give this to all the kids who are studying Connecticut history, I think, in schools. Buy them in bulk.
Well, I met her when I was in high school. I was at a youth and government program, and she actually inspired me to be in public service. So I do actually bring that book with me when I talk to Girls State and Boys State, this program about civics for high school students in Connecticut.
Are there any comparisons that you can draw between Governor Grasso and yourself in terms of the way that you lead?
Well, I would say this, that we've had a similar career path in that she started out her career as a state representative. She represented Windsor Locks, I represented Middletown. Then she served for 3 terms as Secretary of the State, and I am in my 3rd term as Secretary of the State. She went to Congress for 2 terms, and then she became the first female governor elected in her own right in our country, and that's why she's important to Connecticut, but also to our country.
And she took over during a fiscal crisis that the state was in at the time. Of course, the money was a lot less, but...
I think she did, and here's one similarity. She was extremely frugal, and I come from a very frugal farm family and do whatever I can to this. She did things like use Governor Meskel's stationery and type, Governor Grasso right over it. She was known for her frugality, and I think that's going to be important, particularly as we face this huge budget deficit that we have.
Do you think that the state is going in the right direction?
I think, unfortunately, we are going in the wrong direction. You and I were talking about the economy, and between 1950 and 1990, we had very impressive job growth in our state. Lots of people were coming. And unfortunately, ever since 1990, we have been dead last in job growth. And it's a frightening time for people in our state because there are job loss projections anywhere between 40 and 80,000 jobs. Financial people in the lower part of our state are really hurting. We have 1 in 10 people without health care. People are sitting around their kitchen table wondering how they're going to pay for their kids' college education. And I'm in that boat right now. This is a very difficult time.
If you were governor now, how would you govern differently than Governor Rell?
I think we need an energetic, proactive governor who will focus on job creation. Economy is issue number 1 for the governor, and I think it's really important. One thing we do right now in the Secretary of the State's office is help small businesses every day. Over the past 10 years, we've helped 10,000 small business people and entrepreneurs either start or grow a business. We need more attention on small business. We need to improve our educational system to get ready for a better economy. We need to focus on research and development, on green technology, on healthcare services. So many of these things I'd be doing as governor.
Let's look back to 2006. You ran briefly for governor and dropped out of the race early. Why did you drop out so early?
We explored the race for 2 years, and I think it was very frustrating not to know on the Democratic side what the field was. A lot of people were waiting to see what our Attorney General was going to do, and it was just frustrating, and at the time it didn't seem like the right thing. And I'm very glad I stayed as Secretary of the State. We just finished a very high turnout election where more than 80% of our voters showed up and used the new voting machines. Fortunately, things went very smoothly, so I've been honored to serve as Secretary of the State.
We're going to know in about 6 weeks if Attorney General Blumenthal is going to be running for governor in 2010. He says he's going to do it early this year. sort of to pave the way for other Democrats? Should
You got
decide?
a commitment out of it? I'm not sure.
He said on this very program, the first week in January, he would make an announcement. What kind of scenario would you need to run for governor next time?
You know, I'm going to make a decision about what to run for based on issues that I feel very, very passionately about. We have a huge economic downturn. I worked very hard last legislative session fighting to expand health care access because we have so many people in our state who are worried about losing their health care or who don't have it. I think there's so much more that we need to do to improve our educational system. I'm going to continue in public service, and I'd like to try to choose a role where I can use my passion to advocate for children, for our environment, to work for job creation, and I think there are different positions where I could do that.
So are you ruling it out, or are you still going to consider it?
Oh, absolutely. I've gotten a lot of encouragement to consider running for governor, and I hope to be able to use some of the leadership skills that I have.
And when will you make that announcement?
I'll be making a decision probably around the beginning of the year.
So right after Blumenthal announces that he is either going to run or not, you'll decide?
No, I want to be very clear that I won't make a decision based on what he's doing, because if history is any indication, he just may continue to work for our citizens very well in his role as Attorney General. He's a very active and excellent Attorney General.
The early signs indicate that Governor Rell may run for re-election, and some Democrats are saying that we need to put someone up against the governor who can give her a good fight, and there's a belief that perhaps a woman could do it because it's really tough for a man to attack a well-liked woman. Do you agree?
I think that we have a history in our state of, first of all, supporting competent women candidates, which is one of the reasons why 4 of the 6 of our statewide officers are women. I think that's a good thing, and I certainly would consider running against Jody Rell.
Do you think she'd be a tough candidate to beat? Do you think you could do it?
She is a very well-liked governor. However, I do think that there are some areas where we have had differences, and healthcare is one of those areas where she said, no, we can't expand access to healthcare. I'm going to veto the healthcare initiative that was put forward by the legislature and which I traveled around the state to support. And I thought that was the wrong decision. And I'll be back in the next legislative session working to expand health care coverage for small business people who are really struggling to afford that kind of insurance.
Why do you think the Democrats have been shut out of the governorship for so long?
I don't know. It's very interesting. We're like Massachusetts in that we have both houses of our General Assembly are Democrat. We have a lot of people in statewide office, but it's been more than 20 years since we've captured that important role.
Could you see yourself, if Mr. Blumenthal decided to run for governor, to challenge him for the nomination? Is that something you'd want to get into?
Richard and I are top vote getters for our party. I'd like to see us win that position back, and I think he'd be a strong candidate. I think I'd be a strong candidate as well.
In your gut, do you believe you'll be governor someday?
I hope so.
Good enough. Susan Bysiewicz, Secretary of the State, we look forward to seeing you as well
Thank you
in
so
January.
much.
Our show is getting all booked up, isn't it?